Guys, I'm bringing the party to you.
Snakes. Why did it have to be snakes?
You big dummy. Oh, great Odin's raven.
Say hello to my little friend.
I stepped in a ditch last night, man. I almost froze my balls off, man.
You take drugs, Danny?
Every day. Good.
What's the problem?
Yeah, Daisy.
Giggity, 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 giggity.
Oh, we know what you fear well without.
I'm the doctor.
Gangsters, what's up, guys?
This aggression will not stand, man.
Engage.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Pulp Culture Cafe. This is season 12, episode 316. It is just myself, John, and Tess McGee / Scott on the other end of the prompter. So,
I'm going to be stone cold today.
Okay.
Episode 316.
Oh,
Stone Cold said so.
Didn't even think of that. So,
yeah.
Well, it's 316. I still follow some of the wrestling stuff, but not much. So
that's anyway, we'll start the show.
Yeah, no, we're starting the show. You can talk.
Okay,
we can go.
Basically, Austin 316, the origin of that was so fascinating because if Jake Roberts hadn't been in that match, my understanding that Jake Roberts was supposed to be in that match, Triple H, because of the curtain call, Triple H got spanked and he got taken out of the King of the Ring, and Jake Roberts was his replacement.
Yeah.
So if the curtain call doesn't happen, there's a good chance that Austin 316 doesn't happen, which to me is just fucking fascinating. When I watched, what was I watching? Maybe it was in the Mr. McMahon thing, but yeah, it was Austin 316. That's the only reason it happened, and it fucking made money.
Yeah. It's just balance. One of the things I got to learn how to do is, on my end, the volume is always really strong, and on your guys' ends, it's pretty low. So
is it?
Yeah. Well, when I listen back to it, I mean, usually when it goes on to the download.
Can you hear me better now?
I can hear. No, it's not a problem in hearing you. It's when it's capturing. It doesn't seem to work that well. So I'm just going to turn this down a little bit. So, but yeah, that was kind of interesting. Was that from the McMahon special?
I can't remember for the life of me where it was from, but I figured McMahon will leave that until we're recording with Paul because he's seen it too. So
he actually watched it.
He actually watched it. Yeah,
wow.
He and I were chatting back and forth, and I had asked him about something else, and he had said he'd watched the first 4 episodes, and I also told him about Jim Cornette's companion piece, which I thought was great. So
I still haven't listened to it all. I save it all for when I'm at work. So
have you had a chance to listen to any of it at all?
Yes,
it's very good. I thought, yeah.
What are they talking about? I think I got far as they're halfway through episode 2 of it. So, I just want to leave it. In all honesty, I could have played it a few times at home this week. I was kind of bored with shit, but anyways.
Well, leave it to Paul because he's seen it too, so it's something all three of us would have seen. So
okay, so let's start with the new sort of thing to the show. Is what did we watch since the last time we talked? And you and I, we get together sometimes during the week and on the weekends, but. Yeah. So what what is anything that you've watched that you want to talk about that you found interesting?
I'm not sure how interesting it was, but
well, this is for anyway. You. You just talk about whatever you watched and liked. It doesn't.
Susan and I actually we've watched 2 movies, Twisters and The Bike Riders, and they've come out probably in less than the last 6 months. I think in February of this year for one, and I think in July in the other. And they're both by Universal Pictures, and they kind of both suffer from the same problems, ironically. The first one was, I'll start with Twisters. Yeah. He came out on July 19th. Now, Deadpool came out on July 26th. And I think, and this is just a theory of mine, because it made a lot of money. And I think that week before, people were in that. There was a mentality leading up to Deadpool that movies are back, baby. They're back.
Okay.
And yeah, and so I think the weekend that people went to see Deadpool, because it was sold out. So I think a lot of people went to see, oh, look, Twisters, and they recognized the title and they went to see it. And that's why I think it made some of its money over that couple of week period, because there was nothing. There was nothing in it that made me think, hey, this is a. I think it's made 370 million worldwide. It was a very bland tornado movie, and I know that sounds crazy, but it was a very bland tornado movie.
Yeah.
I learned a lot about tornadoes. That's the one thing I did notice that was different from the original is, and I'm guessing that's because over the last quarter of a century, they've been able to analyze tornadoes more, and they know what makes them tick a bit more. They still don't know how they start or why they stop, but they've analyzed them over time. And there's a lot of neat gadgets in the film of how they tornado chase. And I mean, I'm not sure if you've heard of that genre of folks that just literally go around chasing those tornadoes. Yeah. So there's a lot of cool tools with that. They had UAVs, stuff like that, where they can fly these things next to the clouds, where they put stuff up into the clouds. And it's fascinating, that whole era. That to me was interesting. But it just, I knew it was a tornado movie, and I wasn't going in there thinking that there was going to be a lot of romance and sex and everything. But it was, and Sue and I both noticed by the end of it, there was not even grandma and grandpa giving each other a hug and kiss. There was nothing. It was, and the thing is, these are tornadoes, Hunter, and when they're off, they're at a hotel and they're drinking and partying, but there's like, I don't know how to say it. There's no intimacy, not hugs, not heavy flirting, not in each other's arms. Grandma, grandpa, husband, and wife, none of it. It was very weird by the end of it. Sue and I both said it was just the most androgynous film we've ever seen. It was odd, and they even tried a love interest thing, but it was weird. I honestly, by the end, I didn't know whether they were romantically linked or if she was his gay best friend. It was really weird.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was weird. It was really weird. You'd have to see it to know what I'm talking about, but it was very bizarre the way they laid out the relationship dynamic in that film. It was almost like, and I know since 2018 they've had intimacy coordinators on set.
Oh, yeah.
And it's almost like they said, either A, we can't afford them, or B, we're not fucking doing it. So we'll make sure that we have nothing that can be construed as intimacy, that we require an intimacy coordinator on this set.
Just a side note, you talking about that, it just reminded me of a story I saw about the latest with, is it Florence Pugh?
Yes.
Yes, Florence Pugh and the second Spider-Man. What was his name?
Andrew Garfield?
Andrew Garfield. They the movie they did together. They had this intimate scene, and apparently they got really into it. Not like saying they got into it, but they were so involved in the moment that someone yelled "cut" and they didn't hear him because there's so there's this thing going. The cameraman kind of turned and stared at the wall until they were done or whatever. So
I think I read that the cameraman turned and hit the wall.
Oh, okay.
But
whatever.
Yeah, but actually, Michael Caine brought that up. He said, he basically said something shouldn't happen, but this is ridiculous. He thought the idea of intimacy coordinators on set was just ridiculous. He basically, if someone's behaving a certain way, they should be charged, they should be kicked off the film. But to have someone in the room saying this is what you do, that two consenting adults can't decide what's too far is just, in this day and age, especially after the last 8 years, is bizarre. But it's amazing. There's nothing in this film. It was, by the end of it, Sue and I are like, there's nothing. It's so bland, it's not funny. That's the other thing. It's so bland, and they try and make a love triangle, and by the end of it, you're thinking, are these two guys just gay and they wanted to sign their yearbook? It's so weird. It's so weird. It's really weird. The tornadoes themselves, the CGI looked great.
Yeah.
I really couldn't tell much of a difference because I watched some clips from Twister in Twister in '94, maybe.
Oh, geez, couldn't tell you.
It had in 30 years, it's better, but it's not that much better, which says a lot about where Hollywood seems to have gotten stuck on the CGI front.
Yeah.
Yeah, you watch them back to back, and there's not a ton of difference. But it's tornadoes. Once you get them down pat, you get them down pat. They made them more almost like raptors. You know, they'd introduce you to people in the movie, and you're like, that's fresh meat. There's fresh meat. There's fresh meat. And the one thing that I did notice was the new guy who plays Superman was the asshole in this film. He was the dickhead that you were thinking he was going to die. He didn't. That was a nice little twist. Because I said to Susan, I said, there's no way this guy lasts till the end of the film. And they kept him alive. And I've often wondered, because this only came out a few months ago, I'm wondering if they said you cannot kill Superman in a tornado. So, but it was okay. It was like I give it a 5 out of 10. But there was a lot of stuff that they've just changed. You know, they've taken fun out of certain things. It's very odd. It's almost like they keep it on a G level, except it's adults going around chasing storms, drinking, partying. They're young, they're in their 20s, and no one's fucking around. It's weird. It was a very weird film in that aspect. Oh Jesus. The lead, big burp out of me. The lead, what the hell was her name again? Edgar Jones. I've written it down here. No, I've lost her name. Glenn Miller, is that the guy's name? He's the next big thing for guys. I guess he's done a few films. He did one with Sydney Sweeney there about a year ago, and he's kind of on the rise as a male lead. And again, they just absolutely neutered him. I think I mentioned this before on one of the other podcasts when I reviewed The Last Jedi, when they showed the shot of Darth Vader bare-chested, and she just said, "Put your shirt on, bitch," basically. They kind of had a few scenes with that, and you're thinking, that's it. He's not a leading man anymore. Not in this movie, anyway. And they kind of went down that same field. He was this very handsome guy wearing a cowboy hat, and he used to be a bull rider, but he can't. He keeps tripping over his own tongue, and I'm like, that doesn't match. It doesn't. Yeah. That's not how it works. You know, it's just not how it works. But stuff like that really stood out. And I had mentioned when I did a review of the Planet of the Apes, there's an actor that whenever I see them in something now, I'm thinking I know what I'm getting. And the different actor, but the same idea showed up in this film. And the minute I saw this actor, I said, "Uh-oh, I know where we're going." And this person was in like the first 10 minutes, and I was like, "Oh no, here we go." So, and sure enough, Susan said she said, "You're," what'd she say? She said, "You don't know that." And I said, "Yes, I do." But at the end of it, she's like, "Yeah, it was basically neither one of us." She really didn't like the movie, and I like getting her opinion because she's just a normie. She doesn't really, she's not into geek culture. Yeah. So chances are, if she doesn't like it, a good percentage of the public isn't going to be crazy about it either. But it's not bad if you like tornadoes, and the CGI's there, but the story's not. If you like tornadoes and you want to learn about tornadoes, I'll tell you, there's a shitload of. I learned more about tornadoes in this film than in the original. So. Yeah.
No, I am not. I don't need to see it. I've got my tornado toy twister. I have no interest in seeing it at all.
It swarmed me off of watching remakes. I was thinking about watching Roadhouse, but after watching this and Ghostbusters: Frozen Empire, I'm done with anything as far as tales from other stuff from the 80s and 90s. It's just it wrecks it for you. It really does.
Yeah. You can just keep going. We'll just run through it, and then I'll go through mine, and we'll talk through them. So.
All right. The Bike Riders came out in
I saw a little tweet from you about that, or whatever.
Now, this is a movie. Twisters, you really didn't need sex and drugs and rock and roll. Yeah. This was about a motorcycle gang, and anyone who's seen Sons of Anarchy as a comparison piece must have been watching this saying, "What the fuck did I just watch?" Because we watched it, and Sue was bored with it. She we
Oh,
watched
really?
it in an hour. It was 2 hours and 2 minutes long, and we watched an hour. And she said, "How much of this is left?" She's like, "Oh my god, I can't watch any more of this. We'll watch it tomorrow." So we basically watched an hour last night, an hour tonight, and if it had stayed the way it was in the first 45 minutes, it would have gotten like a 3 out of 10 for me. But it actually got marginally better, because they did show. It's basically. Do you know much of the history of motorcycle gangs at all?
No.
Where they start? Yeah. Well, they started basically, from my understanding, part of them after World War II. A lot of the guys started. They started just racing, and then it kind of. And the neat thing about this, it did give it a couple of extra points for me. It showed how motorcycle gangs after the war from 1948, and then into the 60s, and then when those vets came back from Vietnam, they were a lot more fucking crazy, and those guys started becoming new members of the motorcycle gangs, and that's when they started getting into drugs and prostitution and killing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, prostitution.
Yeah.
So basically, that was interesting because I really didn't know that schism took place within the motorcycle gangs in like a span of 10 years. But these guys are coming back from Vietnam, and they were fucking psychopaths.
Yeah.
And they kind of addressed that they went from, if you wanted to challenge someone for the leadership, you would say fists or knives. And you would either go fists or knives. But then, and without giving too much away, if anyone sees it, they just, came a point where it's like guns out.
Yeah.
Don't bring a knife to a gunfight. So, but again, no sex at all. No sex of any kind. And these are minor motorcycle gangs. So a lot of the scenes are around the partying scene.
Yeah.
The women that were there were like the prostitutes from season 2 of The Punisher that I brought up before a long time ago.
Yeah.
It was brutal. And it's funny, there's one scene where they're sweeping across a yard, and there is a woman on top of a guy on a picnic table for like a nanosecond as displaying the guard. And I said this, there's a meme they do of Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah.
He sits up and points at something. I did the exact thing. I was like, look, they're having sex with it. It was hilarious because literally it's her on top of a guy on a picnic table, but it's like for a nanosecond, and that is the only ounce of not even kissing and hugging, not even cuddling together, just no sex at all in a movie about a motorcycle gang. It was, again, fucking weird. And this comes from from Universal Studios. And I don't know whether directors have just said, you know what, I can't afford an intimacy coordinator, or there could be trouble from because basically, and it's happened before where if shit comes out about stuff going on set, it overshadows anything else you do. Like if the actress comes out and says, well, there was a little thing on set, that's it.
Yeah.
Your movie's dead in the water. So maybe these directors said, you know what, I don't need to have people fucking on film. I'll just get rid of everything that could be construed as sexual. And I'm guessing that's what they may have done, because it was, again, very bland. I wrote here, the most sanitized motorcycle gang movie I think I've ever seen. Tom Hardy carried the movie.
Yeah.
He's in it. Tom Hardy, Jodie Cormier, and a guy named he played Elvis.
Yeah, I know.
Here a little while ago.
Butler.
Did you see the movie? Butler. Yes.
Austin Butler.
Austin Butler.
No, I watched him in the HBO series about the bombers in World War II. He was.
What did you think of him?
What do I think of him? As an actor? No, I think he's a pretty good actor. He seems to be getting into it. I don't see any problem with him at all.
Well, this was something that Susan actually said. She said that they didn't give him too many lines, and I don't know. She had watched him in the Elvis film. She thought he was just okay in that, but in this movie, they kind of made him. They didn't give him a ton of lines, and his facial expressions didn't put a lot through into the character. But he was the handsome guy. He was Pony Boy from The Outsiders, basically. Yeah. But Tom Hardy definitely carried the film. Definitely. Without him, they would have had a lot of trouble with it.
Yeah.
Jodie Cormier was the lead, and they did something that sometimes it hurts a film. They kept on jumping from present to past, present to past.
Yeah.
And her voice, she did a Chicago accent. and it wasn't a Chicago accent. The minute I heard the accent, I said, I recognize that accent from somewhere. It wasn't a Boston accent, that Boston accent.
Mm-hmm.
And she said a word. It was another, except she said a nutter. It was she was doing a Newfie accent.
Ah.
It was a fucking Newfie accent. Another and another and another. And I just, the minute she said it, I'm like, oh my God. I said to Susan, she's doing a fucking Newfie accent. And it took me, every time she came into a scene where they were bringing it to the president, it took me right out of the movie because it was the wonkiest. She's a British actress. And it's kind of like when, she's a British actress.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like when Andrew Lincoln came and did Rick James.
Yeah.
Where they kind of overemphasize because they're trying to get American accents.
Yeah.
And it was really overemphasized. Every time she started opening her mouth, I was thinking, "Oh my God, she's playing a Newfie." But yeah, it wasn't bad. She wasn't bad in it. But what else did I have here? Norman Reedus was in it. Norman Reedus and Michael Shannon. Now those, of course, Daryl from The Walking Dead, and Michael Shannon was Zod in Superman. He's a really, really good actor. In Boardwalk Empire, also really good actor. They're interesting in the film. Not in it nearly enough. They had like a couple of scenes, but it was just kind of wasted. When they had that kind of talent, they should have given them a little more dialogue. Michael Shannon's an interesting story behind that. He's the director is a guy named Jeff Nichols, and him and Michael are good friends, and he's kind of done with him what Ron Howard has done with his brother. Michael Shannon has been in every one of his films.
Oh yeah.
So when I saw a minute, I was thinking, okay, well that makes sense. But Jeff Nichols, the guy who directed this, the last film he did was in 2016, 7 years ago. And before that, the last film he did was 2012. So, I remember when I first heard about this, I thought it was like a really big Hollywood blockbuster, but it only had a budget of like 40 million, and it only made like 32. So it lost money. Which is amazing with that cast.
Yeah.
Like that's a well-rounded cast to lose money. But if anyone who saw Sons of Anarchy, and a lot of people did, if they watched this, they'd be like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah.
It was not. They sanitized a biker movie, and it'd be like The Godfather without guns or without death or shit like that. Didn't work.
Without the hits on them. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So, no, I haven't watched any of those films. I'll be quite honest. They're not something on my watch list, so I'm not interested in them.
It swore me off new films for a while.
Yeah.
Wow.
When it's my turn, I'll let you go until you want to switch, but...
No, go ahead.
Okay, well, I haven't... Quite honestly, when I'm watching stuff, I don't even remember watching it because I'm so not interested in it. So... I went and watched a bunch of trailers. I thought, what's coming out in the movies? What's maybe being out there? Maybe it catch my interest. And I tell you, the trailers I've been seeing, Scott, I have no interest about them. They're all fucking slasher films, or it's I can't even describe it. They just look like shit to me. There's nothing out there worth looking. I've found some that are interesting, a couple that are on TV, some that I might go and see in the theater, but if not, so the first one I watched the clip I'm going to bring up is called "It's Florida Man," and it's going to be on HBO Max, and I'll just read you I wrote down the tagline, so it's easier to get the story across than me mumbling through it. But it's an irrelevant late-night series bringing life to unbelievable tales from Florida, featuring interviews with locals and comedic reenactments, starring and rotating cast of actors and comedians covering diverse topics with humor. Some of the stars is Anna Faris and Randall Park and others. So basically, it happened in Florida. Some of these stories are the outrageous ones and that.
Yeah.
So they go and they follow up with them, and it looks really interesting because they reenact the stories that are told, and then they actually looks like they talk to some of the people who actually told the stories.
Okay.
So it's a combination of actually talking to people, and then they reenact the story that they told. So
it's like a documentary almost.
It's no, it's not a doc. It's like a mockumentary. How's that? You know, like
Masturbate theater.
it's like the mockumentary, the King of All, the band.
I know what you're describing, yeah.
But the band, you remember the band, and that was they did a documentary with
Spinal Tap.
Spinal Tap, that's word. Spinal Tap. Yeah. So it's kind of that sort of thing, but they have real actors. It's I think it's only 6 episodes, but it looks very interesting because they're taking these stories and then actually making little comedy skits out of them. Yeah. You know, like there's one with a mermaid and a witch and something else.
Fucked up stuff before.
I know. But that's the thing. It's you take these. Some of these fucked up stories are probably even got some reality to it, right? Yeah. Especially in the mind of the people who tell it, but they take it and they make a little story. So I'm looking forward to that one. Now the second one, I had to do some research. This is based on a book. I don't know if it's an actual novel or comic book series, but it looks like it's computer generated, and if it's done very well, especially if it's a little clip. It's called Huxley the Oracle. Now it says the Oracle Empire is at the height of its power. Max is a young recruit in the Roland, sorry. He's in the colon and he's trying to get his way out. He's full of shit. No, the army, Roland army sent out the important mission to discover the mission deep into the wasteland with its new team. What they discovered could change the course of history forever. And this is a short film. You can find it on YouTube. It's called The History of the Oracle. It's really caught my eye because I was trying to watch something different, and even though it was short. It's based on a series of books by Ben Murrows, Mauro. I looked it up. They look like the graphic novels and not actually stories, like a written story. So more like a comic book, if you would say, right?
Yeah.
And there's a whole system. This one isn't out, but looks like it's a concept to make a short film or even a film. It was something different, so it caught my eye. I'm gonna put a link for it when I do the descriptions. Let's see, I missed something else here. Florida Man. Oh yes, this one. I might actually pay to see this one because it looks something like I haven't seen in a while. Not close enough for me to go say I've seen parts of it from different stories. Yeah. It's called Mickey 17. It's starring Robert Patterson. Yes, and basically he's an expendable that goes on dangerous journey to colonize an ice planet. So basically he's basically I got my life, it's not going anywhere, so I'm going to sign away so that you can read. Every time you go set me out to do something, when I die, you can clone me and I can go out and do it again until they find out exactly what's going on. Every time something happens, he dies, he gets reanimated, cloned again, goes out on another mission. But when he comes back one time, something happens and they think he's dead, but he's not. He gets back, so they've already cloned him. So there's 2 of them now.
A bit like Edge of Tomorrow, eh?
Yeah. Well, in a way, because what they do is that if there's any more than one, they just exterminate everybody. So if there's so they don't take the chance to find out which one's the original. They just exterminate them both. So it follows that plot line, and there's one scene where I don't know how it always works, but a couple times if they get the body back, they basically just burn it.
Okay. So
they're getting ready to slide the body in. The guy goes, wait, this one's alive. And he just, it's okay. Dump him into the fire.
Jesus.
But Robert Patterson looks really good in it. He's
a good actor.
He is. So
after the vampire shit, he's done a lot of indie stuff, but after Batman, he started getting a little more respect.
Well, I think one of the things what he did was that after the sparkly vampire shit, he started choosing roles that would take him so far away from it.
Yeah,
and show him they could act.
He said that before.
Yeah.
Yeah, he said that before. That's what he did.
Yeah. So it's working because I'm finding him be a very interesting actor. Picking some very good roles. Not I'm going to watch them all, but it at least looks like he's trying to stay listed. I'm not this sort of character. I'm an actor and a real actor. And that reminds me of a quote. And I was trying to find this talk about it, but it just brought me head. There was an image in Variety or and they showed the new Hollywood. I don't know if you saw this, but it was just pictures, and what it was TikTokers, YouTubers.
I saw it.
That.
I saw it. Yeah,
and then you saw that. I was trying to look up that because there was I think it was a director. Man, I hate that. I should find out name, but he's the same director that he talked about how he thought that superhero movies ruin theater. Martin Scorsese, maybe.
Oh, Martin
Is it
Scorsese?
him? That's a director, but he just said our industry's over. One very top director just said, if this is what you believe New Hollywood is, our industry is done. So.
Yeah, I don't think that's it at all. I mean, it's just, there's going to come a time. I've always said you can only eat junk food for so long before you're like, I need to get healthy.
Yeah.
And I think society will come to a point where they'll be like, I've been eating junk food, whether it be I'm spending 12 hours a day online playing video games, or I'm watching porn 12 hours a day, or I'm fucking, following some dipshit on TikTok 12 hours a day, that they'll say, I'm sick of this. I don't want to do it anymore. I mean, I've gotten to that point where it's like, no, I don't want to scroll through stuff I'm not going to remember 5 minutes from now.
Yeah.
And I think society will get to that point. We self-correct all the time. Fads come and go. I mean, it's tougher to do it because I think there's a market manipulation like never before when it comes to stuff.
Yeah.
But I think sooner or later people are like, I'm sick of it. I don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
So
you got to hope so, because the generations of now are growing up on this stuff and they think that's entertainment, right? And there's less of us that know what real entertainment is, or the creativity, how to be creative into that, to create stories, and to have stuff that's actually worth a story that's actually worth. You're going to spend the money and see it in the theater. That's not about a bunch of explosion stuff. There's a bunch of I mean, I fall into that trap. I spend that money at the theater to see the big things, but. Like I said, this Mickey 17 looks at like one of those pictures it's basically a sci-fi thing, but there's more to the story of this character trying to stay alive in this situation. There's not much. The only thing I find out is when you go to look up information for it, a lot of times there's very little information about it. You've got to make your mind up from that trailer. And
that Metropolis, the one that just came out?
Yeah.
I don't know what the fuck it's about. I have no idea. No one's talking about it, which makes me want to see it because it didn't do well at the theaters.
Yeah.
But I'm curious. I said to Sue, I want to watch it next weekend because I have no idea what it's about.
Yeah. So the next one I watched is called Evolution. Evolution, right? The higher you get in the elevation, the thinner the air gets, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
This one is done by the same people who did The Quiet Place and a couple other things.
Oh, was that the one with
Anthony Mackie?
The one with, I was about to say not Captain America, but yeah, with
Anthony Mackie
and
and
that trailer.
Marina Baccarina, right?
Baccarina?
Macarena, I can't pronounce it. Anyway, it's a single father and two women venture into safety of their homes to find to face mysterious creatures to save the life of a young boy. So at first I said, I didn't want to watch it, but I needed something to bring into this conversation, and I watched it, and I thought, hey, this isn't that bad.
I see that.
Yes.
I go see that in the theaters. That was interesting to me because especially where, you and I, although we're 3 hours away, we're mountain folk in some ways, and when I think the things that they can do with it in the mountains and knowing they can only go so far, and that it's an interesting challenge. I've never seen the mountains and elevation used like a prop in a movie like that before. So I think they can do some neat things with it.
keep hearing this strange noise clicking in the background, and I have no idea what it is.
I've heard of the whole thing, and I just assumed it was aliens.
That's interesting.
I've
well.
seen Contact. I've seen Contact with Jodie Foster. So if you see pictures of Adolf Hitler coming forward, you'll know. They're making contact.
It just went away. Okay.
That scene. Do you remember Contact? Did you see it?
I remember it's a long time ago I saw it.
When the images of Adolf Hitler comes back, James Woods, he's standing in the control room and he goes like this to this military guys.
Oh yeah.
Just come forward. We're gonna need your help here. Yeah, it was really good, really good.
Yeah. So as for stuff that I've watched that I can remember or even write down, I mean, I've watched a Japanese anime series, Dada Boom, I think it's called. It's just something stupid I needed to watch. I can't. You have to go on. It's on Netflix if you're interested in watching it. It's these two kids. One finds out that she has psychic ability, and the other they're daring each other, telling one to go into that her grandmother's a psychic, so she tells him, "You go in this tunnel, and there's ghosts in there." And he says he believes in aliens. He tells her to go in this building. They end up, there is aliens in there, and there is a witch in there. He becomes possessed. Her psychic body's coming in. But the villains have a really interesting problem with the dicks. Both. Yes. The witch, when he went into her, she goes, let me eat your wiener, or let me see your wiener.
And then it's Japanese anime?
Oh yeah, they got all kinds of weird shit like that. Okay,
that makes sense.
Yeah, and then the second one that comes out, give me your banana. So the witch, he got possessed by the witch, and she actually took his dick. He's got no dick. So it's
Japanese have weird. I think it's because it's you know what I mean.
I don't know.
No, but I think it's like they're obsessed with them because they're little pinky fingers.
Yeah.
And like it's funny the films are all pixelated, and I've often said and made a joke about it. It ain't because of the size. It's like I was sitting there saying to myself, and they seem obsessed with that kind of sexual stuff in their anime too, which is just it's kind of bizarre. But they do have.
You hear that clicking again?
It sounds like either a cat purred or a caterpillar.
No, my cat's. I locked her away.
That's fine. Don't worry about it.
Something's ticking. Something's gonna give up. It's gonna go kablooey.
Something's gotta give.
So I mean, that's kind of what I've been doing, or for watching other stuff. I haven't really paid attention enough to give you any reason to discuss about it.
I watched season 3 of Mayor of Kingstown. I finished this about 3 weeks ago, actually. And every time I watch a season of this, I think Disney was so fucking dumb not to give Hawkeye at least one season of his own show. It's just baffling. I mean, the work he does here. His role as Mike McCluskey in this series is just brilliant acting from beginning to end. His supporting cast, a gentleman by the name of Toby Bamtifa. He plays a gentleman named Bunny, who is basically. Did you ever watch The Wire?
No.
His acting is at least as good as any of the actors in that, and it's pretty critically acclaimed. There was a guest star by the name of Yorick Van Wagengiant. Did you see the girl with the dragon tattoo?
No, I don't think so. I don't watch a lot of stuff that you do. Holy cow!
It was really well casted, and there was a few unexpected deaths too, and. It's one of those things you'll see characters on a show and you'll think you're too fucking good. Someone's going to pick you up for your own show. And at the end of the season, there were two unexpected deaths. And sure enough, the minute they died, I went online and I was like, yeah, this person's going to be doing their own show for a different network next year. Yeah. But it was interesting because I didn't see it coming, and those are nice twists when you can. A lot of stuff I'll see coming because I've seen so much stuff, but and it really brought a lot of punch to the last episode of the season, but it was great. It was a movie. There were 3 episodes that I would have watched in a movie theater and paid for, and to me that's high praise. When I'm thinking I would have paid for that. Yeah, I remember seeing the Watchers on the Wall. Do you remember that episode of Game of Thrones where the dead attack the walls and they showed the woolly mammoths? So I would have watched that in the movie theaters, and since then there have been shows that I've said on TV shows that's a Watchers on the Wall. I would have paid to see that in the movie theater. And there was a 2-episode, I guess you call it 2-parter in that series that I'm thinking I would have paid for that as a 2-hour movie in the theater. It's just a fantastic series, and as I said, the fact that he was kind of relegated to a secondary part in his own character in the one season they did have a Hawkeye was just insane. It makes no sense. They could have had a bona fide hit with him in that thing, especially after he got run over that snowplow. Everyone loves a comeback story, and that's a fucking comeback story.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're looking for something to watch the trailer for the first episode. If you think it looks interesting, check it out. Did you watch the resurrection of Jake Roberts there years ago?
I might have.
I've never watched it. I've heard so much about it, and I enjoyed it. It was good. Rough seeing Scott Hall, knowing what's gone on since then. Good comeback story. They really didn't sugarcoat a lot of stuff. You know, he fell down and got back up, and from what I've seen since then, he hasn't really fallen off the wagon. He's done really good. The relationship with his kids is still solid. His grandkids. I mean, he had a lot of demons, and the fact he was able to overcome them with the help of Dallas Page's help, it was really. It got nominated for a couple of awards, and I would say for a documentary, it definitely deserved it. I'd never seen it, but it was cool to see it in its entirety, the way it was supposed to be watched.
No.
I enjoyed it a lot.
So you got anything else that you've watched that kind of caught your interest?
I've got some comics and I've got some news.
Okay, well, we're done with stuff we watch. We can move on to comics, and then we'll go doing news, and we can call it an evening.
Sure.
So I've got 3, and I'll be as descriptive as I usually am, which is bad. But
okay, go ahead.
Oh, thought I heard it there for a minute. So the one I want to talk about out of all of them actually is Skin Police. It's from Oni Press, ONI. I think that's correct. Oni Press. Issue 1, and it's called Skin Police. So I'm just going to read you the first page, give you a better idea than me trying to mumble my way through it. But it's 2142. Fertility pandemic grips the globe amidst the chaos. Black market of illegal clone baby thrives. War, government turmoil, coups, and mass immigration means that so-called duplicates are untraceable, often not aware of themselves that they're living, breathing crimes against nature. What's worse is that these genetics are unstoppable. 3 or 4 of them will pop, basically mean they lose it, they go insane, and immediately become vicious homicidal monsters. Countries and continents that have taken their own individual approaches to this crisis, the United Nations of Europe, have upheld an unforgiving stance, creating a special government division to hunt down and remove these deadly ticking time bombs. Their names of the task force, duplication and capture division, but everybody calls them the Skin Police.
Skin Police.
So the first page opens up with one of this person. Suddenly he's starting to have some feelings, but he doesn't want to believe he's one of them. And eventually he does snap. He's on an airplane, and what he sees are scenes have hallucinations, the monsters, and he starts whacking people. And then the Skin Police come along to knock him down, put him out. And this follows the story of this one character. He is apparently the top dog of the Skin Police. His partner's in a hospital. He takes on a new one, and they're on an investigation. It's nothing in depth where I'm going to say that it sucks you in right at the start, but it does have that thing of a little bit of in a system where you can't trust anybody because someone's going to turn you in. Like it follows the daughter, who the mother was the stepmom. The father has passed away. There's something going on, so she calls the skin police, believing that she's a duplicate, and then she runs away.
Who put that out? Who put that out?
Oni, O-N-I.
Oh, Oni Press. Okay, yeah,
Oni
yeah,
Press,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so it follows the story of this guy. They're investigating what's going on. It follows her story too while she's trying to get away. And then at the end of it, she runs into someone who I thought was a police officer, but it's not. It's one of these duplicates. And he's dressed like an officer, so I'm getting the feeling that was once an officer, and then he's not, but he is a duplicate because he takes her to where she can hide with people of her own. So it's still, the story doesn't indicate if she is actually one. It's just, is she? Never said she is.
So it's a question.
It's a question if she is. Okay. But like these stories, I have a feeling in a way that's going to turn out that the lead officer is a duplicate. All right?
Okay.
I'm just guessing. That's how usually stories work out, that they're duplicates.
Yeah, but that's good that they're able to keep your attention for stuff like that.
And I just found it really different. Something I haven't seen in a while. Again, I got to find something really different. It's written by Jordan Thomas, artist Danielle Getty, and colors Jason Wordy, and letter and logo design Jeff Powell. Artwork I really enjoyed. So, it's very, very good stuff. So I had missed it when I tried to put it on my list, but Lee had brought one in. I picked it up, added it to my pull list. Hopefully I get 2 before I get 3. Definitely one I'm interested in. All right. The second book I got here is 104. It's Grendel. I don't know if you know the character.
I know the character, yeah.
Okay.
I've never read too much of
So Matt Wagner comes back with, it looks like Brennan Wagner. I haven't dug deep into it, but it looks like a family member. And Earth he's been away for literally 500 years, and this Grendel comes back to Earth, and it's a shit show. Everything's gone to hell. Society is broken off into their different things. It's any post-apocalyptic story, right?
Yeah.
But Grendels are not welcome. And he shows up to a small village. He's just trying to get information what's going on. Small village just has wares for sale, from everything from hookers to weapons, and he runs across those two people that are trying to purchase something. And then the one guy, he's a merchant. It looks like they must have cut his face off because he's wearing a mask. He won't take it up because he cut his nose or something off. But ouch. You get these officers come in. They're anti-Grendel officers. They look like shiny knights, or they have a look also of clone troopers. The original clone troopers with the slimmer helmet.
The Old Republic.
Yeah, Old Republic. Find out he's a Grendel by mistake. These two people help him get away, and he's like, "What's up? Why are you helping me?" And they're part of a secret organization of other Grendels. I picked it up just because I read some of the Grendel books before, and I was kind of interested. And I haven't seen one from Matt Wagner in a while. Not that I've kept up enough to see.
Who released those before? It wasn't. Is that Dark Horse?
Dark Horse here, and then there's a different other organization that did it. So.
Yeah.
But another book that I just getting away from the superhero stuff, and Grendel is a name I recognize. I'll give it a shot, and he can't. Well, for me, I can't lose. It's only a 4-issue series. So it's an easy read, and it looks interesting to see where they go from there. And this one you could probably help me with and talk about. It's X-Men #1, McKay.
Yeah.
Stegman. Yeah, I haven't picked up any of the other books because I wanted to get around to reading #1. First thing, I like the art. Okay, I do like the art. I have no back history with the X-Men for a long time, so Yeah, so I kind of ignore it. You know, they talk about Krakoa and crack this and crack that, and you know, all this shit. I'm just mumbling through this because I have no fucking clue. So this is like brand new to me. Cyclops, Beast, Magneto, Psylocke, Kid Omega, Temper, Magic, and Juggernaut are in the series. And they've picked up an old. They're living in a factory up north, is it? In Alaska?
Yeah, factory up Merle, Alaska.
Yeah, Merle, Alaska. So they're up there trying to. I don't know. What are they trying to do? Start over again, like for the 1500th time?
That is an old Orcus Sentinel manufacturing plant.
Yeah.
And so they closed it down, and basically, you know, and I'll go into a bit more when I'm talking. The X-Men are all over the globe, and at one point in time, actually, Scott and his brother Havoc are from. Their parents are from Alaska, so there's a tie to that area.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I think basically they're up there for now. I think it's great. I love the fact that they're up in the Great White North. And I love the fact that Beast is back. And it's the good Beast. I mean, I've been reading for years. Like for the last 5 years, they've had like a dark Beast.
Yeah.
And
yeah, because they mentioned in here something about that's another story or some line indicating his past where he was the bad guy.
Well, no, it's not him. It's the last clone. It's this dark beast had all these clones of himself, and Sage, who is a member now of X-Force, he's the last clone, but he is Hank McCoy from like 1990 back. He doesn't know anything about Krakoa. He doesn't know anything about Age of Apocalypse. He is the guy from the 1980s and 1990s that was hanging out within the Avengers. He was a Wonder Man. He was the Stars and Garter, that fun beast.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that they kind of get back to that with that character.
So what happened in between that time? Now, did that Hank disappear and they brought in the bad beast?
He didn't disappear. This one's a clone. Hank himself, he got corrupted, I guess would be the best way to do it, and he basically become the mad scientist, I guess would be the best way to do it. He was the head of X-Force when they were on Krakoa, and he had them doing some really fucked up stuff. They made a bunch of he made a bunch of clones of Wolverine and used them as his own private assassination squad, and he killed humans with them. He did some really bad shit, and they had just finished up that storyline. But I like the fact that they've kind of reset Beast into what he was originally. This very positive, caring. I call him the Stars and Garter Beast because that's the guy from the 80s that was in the Avengers and friends with Wonder Man and was in the Champions.
Yeah. So, anyways, I read the first one. Art's pretty good. I'm gonna wait and pick up the other ones at the Christmas sale because I want to read more of it. It's enough that I want to read more and see what's going on. Now, if I'm gonna get back into the X-Men, I don't know because I've been away from such a long time because of all the shit that's been happening with through the years and stuff like that.
Yeah. It's a good reset. It's a good reset for me.
So, I enjoyed it overall enough for me to, like I say, waste the money or spend the money and get the ones at sale because I'm so far behind now. I might as well wait and get a few of them for half price, right?
Yep.
And in this situation where is it not genetics or is it artificial creating of X-Men or not mutants?
Of mutants. Yeah. Basically, like it's been, the lore for X-Men is you started to manifest your powers at puberty.
Mm-hmm.
And now some of these people are manifesting their powers into adulthood, which is telling the X-Men that these are being manufactured artificially.
Yeah, that's the one I'm looking for. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, and then, what is it? Where did he give it? This is the... Yeah, the very last page is kind of interesting. You've got this huge, giant sentinel standing over the town. So I don't know how that came about, but
he said, well, basically that's where they built the factory, and basically the Sentinels in the series, without going too deep into it, Orcus, the organization, wanted to destroy all the mutants, but the end game was that AI had taken over Orcus, and they just didn't want to kill the mutants. They wanted to kill everybody, humans included.
Terminator.
So when you see that sentinel over the town,
yeah,
that's a friendly reminder to the town, we're in this all together. And these things you made before didn't just want to kill us. They wanted to kill you too. And that's what the symbolism is of that sentinel, to say it's not just mutants that the sentinels wanted to kill, it was you too. So we're in this together, so don't fuck around.
The other thing I saw, it also shows how stupid people are, because there's still people in the city or the town that are against the X-Men because they shut down the factory. You know?
Well, but I did.
That's
like
human
that
nature.
Part, but I did like that part that they actually delved into it, because if that was a real life thing, and people lost their job, they would say,
yeah,
I get it, I understand it, but I don't have a job.
Yeah.
And that I like the fact that they were able to, and that's one thing I did like about that first issue, and they kind of carry that in the later issues. They're able to apply real life human situations to this storyline, which makes it more realistic.
Yeah.
And to me, that was a plus. There was one thing, and I'm curious before I jump into something else. There was Ileana. She was playing chess.
Mm-hmm.
You remember that?
Yeah, she's playing with Juggernaut.
Playing chess, and she was playing chess. She wasn't. She was playing with somebody else, and there was a silver hand, and I think that was Colossus.
Really?
I don't think it was Juggernaut. I think it was Colossus. Her
brother.
Colossus or whatever.
Yeah, Colossus.
Her brother.
Her brother. Yeah.
Her brother. But it's interesting because he is the only one who has not come back that I have not seen in any of the issues of the X-Men.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure if that's a coincidence or not, especially where the real world is when it comes to Russia.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I just thought it was interesting that he's the only one that has not come back, and the only part you see of him is him. You see a hand playing chess with Ileana. I think that's him. I believe it's him from the look of it.
Is that in book 1?
Maybe it's not in that book. Maybe I was mistaken. It's in a later book.
Because I don't see it. Because this starts off with them assaulting the area where Wolverine is being captured by. Is it? I can't remember the name of the group. They wear the hoods all the time. AIM, is it? They're in red, these ones, but AIM has got Wolverine, and I don't see anything in where they're like having a downtime here. But I know that scene because maybe it's one of the books I picked up to look at.
Yeah, possibly. But the one thing I do like about all these books, and I'll get into it a little bit more, is they focus on a certain amount of characters, and they're able to flesh the characters out more, and that to me is good. And I hope they keep the books apart for a while, because that's more important than I've read all of the Age of Krakoa books. So what else as far as that book? Myself, absolutely get the next 3 issues. Yeah. They're very good. Mm-hmm. I'm out to 4 now. They're probably about 6 or 7 by Christmas time. Yeah. But they're very good. I enjoyed them. them.
And that's all. Just those 3 quick ones there. So.
Well, basically, I've been reading over the last, I would say, 3 weeks now, the end of the Krakoa era, and I hadn't read them for a while, and I had like probably 30 issues to read. So I will now do a recap of each issue.
Okay, yeah.
Not really. Basically, long story short, the dream is dead. Xavier, and this is a spoiler, but I mean, it is what it is. It's been 3-4 months now. Mm-hmm. Xavier's in jail. Mm-hmm. He's in jail. The dream is dead. In the X-Men's eyes, he turned on the team. I could explain what happened, but it's one of the reasons why they ended it, because it became so convoluted with time travel and realm travel that they just, it was you really had to read every book to get the full picture. And I did, but I mean, basically the dream is dead. And I've never seen all the books get on the same page to say Xavier sucks and we're never going to follow him again. I mean, at one point in time, Wolverine literally tried to kill him. And that is very telling, and I think that's tied into the MCU. After reading the end of the Krakoan era, you're not going to see Professor Charles Xavier in the new movie.
Oh yeah, you said that a couple times. So Yeah.
And I don't think you're going to see Wolverine, possibly Magneto, possibly, but I'd be very surprised. They had like 12 to 15 years of storyline in 4 years, and I've mentioned that before, but even at the end, that storyline that they wrapped up in 3 months could have easily been a year and a half worth of stories. There were so many moving parts. It felt like all the plans got cut short. I know Jonathan Hickman, when he originally started this, he said he was going to be on the series for 5 years, and I think he lasted 3. And I think they got to a point where they just said, you know what, we're bringing the X-Men into the MCU universe. We want to set the ground for that, wrap everything up, because it felt like they were just told 1 month to wrap it up, and then within like 6 months later, it was done. And like during the Age of Krakoa, they killed off Magneto. They killed him off, and then they had to set up a miniseries with Storm to bring him back. And I don't think they would have done that if they had planned on wrapping it up so quickly. I like the fact that the way that Iron Man played in it, the Sentinels are based on Iron Man's armor, and it was kind of cool to see him in it. He married Emma Frost in the comics, and again with Tony Stark kind of coming back to the MCU, there's some history there to play with, some stories to play with too. I mean, I would not be surprised if you see Tony Stark's Sentinels in the MCU when it comes to the X-Men. It's something. It's a club they have in their bag, so to speak, when it comes to, putting out golf shots of what they want to do with that universe now. Too many characters introduced. Way too many characters introduced. They must have introduced. In 4 years, I bet you they introduced 100 new characters, and they had Krakoa and Arako, which was basically the twin. And in that universe alone, they probably had 75 new characters, and I can name 1 or 2. That's it. They just they'll come back later. I mean, they've definitely given people something to build on for down the road. But there were so many characters. You didn't really remember a lot of the stuff that went on because there was just so many things they did. That was the end of the Krakoa era. Those were 30 books, and they wiped it up. They actually finished it with X-Men 700, which I was just like 700 books of the Uncanny X-Men. That was the last issue. But I mean, I started collecting them at like 200. 190, something like that. It was like a long fucking time ago. The new X books. Now these are the ones I mentioned before. Sentinels. That's a new one from a writer named Alex Parknell. It's one of the more original ones. It's basically, I don't want to call it Sentinel Suicide Squad, but it's told from the side of the bad guys, because basically it's these Sentinel human hybrids that are sent after the most dangerous mutants, your Omega Reds, your Mr. Sinisters. So it's kind of told from the side of the bad guys, but they're not really bad because they're going after worse things. It's not a Suicide Squad, but it's in that same vein. And I really enjoyed the first issue. It's really well done. It's probably one of the best books of the relaunch, to be honest, so far anyway. Wolverine, I mentioned briefly on Monday.
Hello.
There
we go.
He's also doing Daredevil, and the first issue, back to his roots. It actually took place. The entire thing took place in the Northwest Territories. It was just him, some hunters, the RCMP, Nightcrawler, and an interesting character named Cyber that I haven't seen in his Wolverine comics in a long time. So when I see characters like that being used, I know that the writer has a history of who the character is, and that to me is a huge sign of respect. There's a nice hook at the end of it where they kind of tell you where the series is going. It has to do with his antimanium, but how they're going to get there, I'm not sure. But it's a really interesting mystery the way they ended the first issue, and it's one of the series I'm definitely going to be getting that one. Definitely going to be buying Sentinels. The third one, X Factor, it was aimed at the kids, aimed at, I would say, that teen to 20, and I thought, this isn't for me. they were doing a lot of TikTok, a lot of TikTok bullshit and social media, and I was thinking, well, this isn't for me. I don't want to have that every episode. But then he started doing he just started doing subtle jabs at social media, and then he kind of started making fun of what they do. And then the ending, and it's relatively new, I won't spoil it, but there was a really nice twist at the end of episode 1, and it was a really, I've said this before, that people almost killed themselves to get noticed on social media. And it kind of ties into that. And I thought, okay, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. It's actually, if you can continue the writing like that, it's actually kind of brilliant. So I'm going to continue reading this. The writer, I can't remember the gentleman's name. It's progressive. There's a lot of they, thems, and he, theys, and that kind of shit. But he keeps it to a minimum, and it's an interesting storyline. So I'm going to continue buying it for now. That's basically X Factor. It's Havoc. Who else is in it? Havoc, and I can't remember who else is in it now. Anyway, it's X Factor. They're a government organization still. The X-Men Up North, we already talked about that. And I think that's all I've got for comics for this time around.
Oh, there goes a bunch of noise, folks.
Ruh-roh.
Yeah. That's what you get when you're doing it in the basement. All kinds of noise.
Overall, I love the fact they're independent books now. I love the fact that they have their own storylines, self-contained within their own books. That's the way they did it back in the day, and it worked out a lot better. They gave a lot more room for character development, and when they introduced characters in an issue, you knew where to get the storyline on that character each month. It was the same thing. I'm glad they did this, and I'm guessing they got feedbacks, people saying, you know what, you get a character in one of these books and you'd never see him again. And they did that a lot during the last 5 years. So they're on the right path.
I know we keep talking about the price screen. It's $4.99 generally for a book now, isn't it?
Yeah, it's they used to announce it before, and now they're just like, we're just gonna put our hand right down your pants. It's as simple as that. You won't see it coming. But they basically, what started it was the indies. The indies jumped to $4. Before, back in the day, every time there was a price jump, it was the big two who did it, and then the independent books followed. But Boom Studios, it wasn't Boom Studios. Who was it that went to $4.99? There was a company that went to $4.99 first, and I thought, you arrogant fuckers, you don't sell enough comics to jump there.
Yeah, I can't remember who is it, but
I mentioned it at the time, though.
We mentioned a few times, and I think if it goes up another $1, I'm done. I'll only buy $3.99 books if I can find them, or I'll go back and read all the issues of stuff. I ain't even got none of that stuff. Stop. I just can't do it anymore.
Now.
Huh?
I've cut back now. I'm back to 25 titles a month. That's it. 20, and I've counted them, and I know exactly what ones they are. When they end, I'll pick something else up. But I'm back to 25 titles a month, and that's it. And that works out to about, I think it's like between 140 and 160 a month, and that's it. That's it.
Yeah.
I
don't even want to spend that much. All right, folks. Since we're going to drop off to the news of stuff that Scott has stuff, I actually have some stuff. Some stuff I read, stuff I just brought up in headlines for discussion. But Scott's usually the guy that brings us all the new stuff, and we go from there and talk about what he brings up. So I'll let him start with the goodies he's got.
I'm not sure if you saw this. This was neat, and you and I would particularly think this was kind of cool. When you were a kid growing up, and it's the right month for it too. October is the month of Halloween.
Yeah.
And do you remember on the CBC getting your little short pants scared off by Sleepy Hollow on Walt Disney CBC on Sunday nights?
I'd have to be. I honestly said. Let's do it this way. Without remembering correctly, probably the first few times, yes. But after that, it just became part of Halloween.
Yeah.
Disney had to have on their was it Walt Disney's on Sunday night? Was there a special?
Wonderful
World of Disney on Sunday nights. Yes. And close to Halloween, they would have some Halloween stuff on there, and
Fuck it.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, though, the first time I saw that, and I'll never forget it, because it happened to be on a Saturday night. On a Sunday night was Halloween, and it was Halloween night. And I was Do you hear that, don't you? It's been going on the whole time.
I thought I had it fixed. I turned off a whole bunch of stuff and it's still fucking there.
But anyway, Sunday night, the first time I saw it, I had nightmares the whole night.
Maybe it's my tablet.
Could be your tablet. You
Yeah.
got a gremlin in your tablet.
Let me put it over here out of the way.
It's a little feedback.
Yeah, could be. All right. Okay, let's see what happens now.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Okay.
The
Well,
digital moan. But yeah, but I remember I'd never slept that night. I was terrified, scared the hell out of me, and I'll still remember whenever I see the scene where the headless horseman's at the end of the covered bridge,
mhm.
and it comes running down. I fucking near pissed my pants
Yeah.
as a child, and I had nightmares about that because I was at my grandmother's house for Halloween. We go up there, and then I go up to grandma's to stay over on.
But didn't it ended with the guy, the headless horseman, throwing the pumpkin down?
Yes. Yes.
And then it ended, right?
Yes, the good
Yeah.
guys did. That's the first time the good guys didn't win.
Yeah.
And I remember that, like thinking, what I just went on here? The good, and that's when I thought,
Yeah.
as a small child, I'm thinking, oh, he didn't, up until that point, the bad guys always lost.
Mhm.
That means the bad guys was outside my bedroom window, but this one, the bad guys won,
Yeah.
and he could be outside my bedroom window. And I'm telling you, I was thinking it was like 7, 8 years old, and I had nightmares for like 2 nights.
Oh,
but that
wow.
night, I didn't sleep. I woke up. I remember my grandmother. She said, "What are you doing up?" I said, "I can't sleep, Grandma. I'm scared." And when I saw that it turned 75 on October the 3rd.
Holy
Came
fuck.
out 1949.
That cartoon?
That cartoon came out in October 3rd, 1949.
Holy fuck.
I was gonna say, and the fucked up thing is that it had been on when I was watching it. Probably, what would that be? 77, 78. It had already been on the air for like 30 years. Wow.
Holy moly.
So I'm sure they're able to how can we fuck your kids at the highest probability?
Yeah.
Don't have him die. Make him think he's outside his bedroom window.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I watched that but the first couple of years, I know I watched it the first year. I couldn't watch it for a couple of years. It fucked me up so bad. And then I started watching it. But when I saw it was 75, I'm thinking, holy shit. That's something you don't think about. 75 years.
Yeah.
Amazing. So.
Holy fuck. Yeah.
What'd you think of the movie? Did you see the movie that was on Johnny Depp and...
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was very good.
I liked it. I liked it very much. Yeah.
Yeah, very well. I think it was
Was it Tim Burton?
Tim Burton, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tim.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the reason I said that is because usually him and Depp do movies together, and a Sleepy Hollow with Johnny Depp would really be up Tim Burton's alley. So
yes, and I think his wife at the time, what's her name? She did a lot of his movies.
Richie. Oh, Carter. You mean?
Yes.
Oh, Lenny Carter.
Helena Bonham Carter. Yeah.
Yeah, bottom. hell of a bottom. Hell
of a bottom Carter.
Yeah.
The Joker.
Oh.
They figure by the time it's coming out on digital on November the 4th, and they figure by the time it leaves theaters, it will have cost the studio between $175 and $200 million. Mm-hmm. Cha fucking ching.
Yeah. Just quickly, I don't know who it was, but I was listening to a podcast, and they talked about how some critic said that, or director said, this movie is ahead of its time and will not be recognized to be that ahead of its time for a few years in the future, right? It's one of those films that people said, you don't get it now. You'll get it in the future when you're more sophisticated or something.
I get that train of thinking, but I think there's a group of folks who said when it first became a hit, when the Joker became a hit, it became a hit because it tapped into a nerve of a lot of people in society that were like, no one's listening to me. When he's on the stage with
the comedy place, right? When he's telling jokes and no one's laughing.
But at the end when he's sitting on the talk show.
Oh yeah.
And he was talking about how people are such pricks in society, and they're mean, and they're mean-spirited, and then they're shocked when shit happens. That resonated with so many people.
Yeah.
And they could relate to it. And as bad as they didn't want to say it, you can relate to that because it happens a lot. It happens on social media. It happens in real life where it's like, I'm just trying to be nice, and the whole fucking world seems to be nasty. And that resonated not just with men. They said it was a lot of men, but it resonated with a lot of people. And this felt like it was, go fuck yourself. We're going to tear... Well, it felt like they were doing what they done with Star Wars and superheroes to a degree. We're just going to tear apart something that you thought was really good.
Yeah.
Or maybe you liked it for the reasons that we didn't want you to like it. So we're going to show you a different way.
Yeah.
And it almost seemed like, and maybe it was media hype, that they just like didn't want... They found that people liked it for the wrong reasons. And that was not good. So, and there was a few quotes that Todd Phillips had put out that it was right up there with, what Ryan Johnson used to say about Star Wars. We're going to destroy your childhood dreams or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, just stupid fucking stuff. You're a director. I get it. You want your vision, but don't tell your fans that you're going to fuck them in the ass and then fuck them in the ass.
Yeah.
So,
and expect them not to like it.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it will have a different viewing down the road because I think there's an argument to be made that there's a lot of fucked up people out there that, their revenge fantasies are musicals that they're going to, I mean, and even the original Batman. Remember the Nicholson going through that art gallery and the music's playing and he's destroying the place?
I'm trying to think of another movie, Clockwork Orange.
Same idea, and I think that's what it was.
I haven't seen that movie in a long time, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I think there's music in it through it that kind of does the same thing.
There is, and I think he kind of tapped into that when he says people will see it differently down the road. I think some people will see it differently down the road. Some people will just say, "I'm not going to watch it," and that's kind of what's happening right now. But that, oh my God, $200 million. I think Lady Gaga, if she decides to do more movies, I think it's going to have to be independent stuff because I would be shocked if a major studio is going to say, here's $20 million or $15 million.
It's weird. You were thinking, just saying that, and last night I'm laying in bed and I'm thinking about movies and TVs and stuff and how I really don't want to watch a lot of new stuff. I'm going back and watching old stuff,
Yeah.
And and actually it was about this book, Skin Police, and I thought, I'd like to have the money I could do like a George Harrison did. I mean, he had to remortgage his house, but one of the reasons he made Monty Python and the Holy Grail, or was it Life of Brian? Sorry, Life of Brian is because he wanted to see the movie. Was it Life of Brian or Holy Grail? Can't remember which one.
You said George Harrison.
George Harrison. They needed money to do a movie. Shit, I can't remember. For some reason, I think it was the first one. They wanted to make this movie, and they needed the financial money to do it, and they couldn't get someone to back them. So George gave them the money, simply because he wanted to see it.
Yeah,
he wanted to make the movie, could see it. So, and I thought, man, if I had lots of money, and I would talk to that guy, that Oak Studio guy who did District 9 and that. I say, how much can you make this for? Because I want to see it. Yeah. Skin Police, make a movie. Huh?
There have been a lot of people saying that, why can't there be a sound studio in Atlanta? Why does it have to be Los Angeles? Mm-hmm. There's lots of visions that aren't being fulfilled. I mean, Paramount's doing some of it, but there are very rigid views within Hollywood right now, and you're seeing it. And I've mentioned 2 of the films that I saw, but they said, why does it have to be Hollywood? Why can't it be somewhere else in the country and just do small indie films with like $10 to $20 million budgets? Mm-hmm. That's the amazing thing about this time period. The fact that they're just fucking pissing money away and they're not caring about it.
Yeah.
The amount of flops in the last 5 years would kill any other industry. Mm-hmm. And I know for a fact, like Cutthroat Island, there was a film, Calico I think Calico Studios is the name of it.
Mhm.
It bankrupted a studio. That was
Yeah.
one with Gina Davis
Yes.
back in the day.
Yeah.
Remy Harlan. It bankrupted the studio, but they must have a shit ton of money because the amount of bombs that have been dropped in the last 5 years would destroy any other industry.
Mhm.
And they don't seem to be. They're self-correcting to a degree, but I said this about the Joker. I said the folks who did Captain America, this new film coming out, they must be saying, oh no, this might befall them. If enough of the public says, you know what, no, we're doing this, and we're just not going to come to your movie.
Yeah.
And if that happens, I mean, one of the biggest shockers of Joker was Lady Gaga's Monsters just. I think I put a tweet out that they're on milk cartons somewhere. None of them showed up for the movie, which is insane because 10 years ago they would have killed for that woman. That's where a lot of her base was. They were her little monsters, but none of them showed up to watch the movie, which I found just fascinating. Do you watch The Simpsons still?
Yeah, when it's on. Last show I watched, we'll be honest, it was not funny at all to me.
Is that the one about the comic book shop?
Well, the last one was basically, I think, was the one where the series was coming to an end, and they're showing like the comic book man, his wife giving birth, and all this stuff.
Closed the comic book store.
Yeah.
Are they going to close the comic book store?
No.
Because to me,
that was his alternate reality sort of thing.
But I thought it was very interesting. I thought it was very timely when I saw John Cena in that scene. I just saw the clip, and they were closing the comic book store, and he's having a baby, and I was sitting there saying to myself, you guys, remember they've said over the years that The Simpsons is always precognitive of stuff that's actually going to happen in society?
Yeah.
When they closed the comic book store, I was thinking, you fuckers, I hope you're not right.
No, it was just part of this. It was everything was coming to an end. And it was a show hosted by Conan O'Brien, and they were showing clips. It was supposed to be the last episode.
Oh, so that was a twist, eh?
Yeah, it was the last episode, so they were kind of like closing it, ending it with all these different scenarios, and one was the comic book man. So they realized he was wasting his life or whatever. So
I said to Susan, I said, when I do retire, I'm gonna get every season on Blu-ray and just watch them, because I literally stopped watching about 15 years ago.
Yeah.
But I remember being 18 years old and watching the first Simpsons. I was still working at my first job when I was like, I think it was 20 at the time, maybe 22. It's amazing, and I haven't watched it in years, but people must still be watching, and it must have some humor in it. But in the comic book vein, I had read that the Big Bang Theory is doing a spin-off with the guy who owns the comic book store and his girlfriend.
Is that really what it's that? Because I had that same thing too. Is that what you got from it?
That's what I got from it. I mean, they had the two characters, and I think it'd be great, to be honest, if they did.
Yeah. Yeah, they're talking about having him and his girlfriend and Brian Bolson. There was the guy that was the rock guy. He was very into rocks.
Yeah.
Again, now we gotta look way over here. I can't put it over there because it starts fucking clicking. Yeah, but I didn't get that as.
I was just going on the fact that those who the characters were most involved with was the comic book shop, and I thought.
Oh yeah, I mean I love that character.
Oh God.
Yeah.
That scene of him when Penny goes to the comic book shop, and I've watched those clips every now and then where they're just staring at her.
Yeah.
And he's like this. He's like, I will hose you down right now.
I swear I'll turn the hose on you guys.
I swear I'll turn the hose on you. He says, you're going on the wall. He gets a date. He said, I don't care. You're going on the wall. When he met the girl, he's like, well, technically, I don't care. You're going on the wall.
Oh, Stewart. That's it.
Stewart, yes.
Yeah.
He's a good character.
I would very much, if that's, like, maybe you read more into it than I did, but I didn't see it like that. It was nothing to do, but with those, especially with Stewart, I would watch.
Yeah.
I just love his portrayal of him.
And I think for the right amount of money, the the cast would, because none of them have really done anything else. I'm guaranteeing you, if they said, you know what, we're going to pay you $250,000 for an episode.
Kelly Coco,
Sure.
I'm pretty sure she would come back because she didn't want the series. If I remember correctly, and if it's true, she didn't want the series to end.
A lot of them didn't.
Yeah.
I mean, it was Jim Parsons who
yeah.
was like, I'm moving on.
Yeah.
So I think if there was an opportunity for even some of these characters to come up for multi-episode arcs, and they could do that, I think it would work out good, at least for a couple of seasons. But I think it's a property that hasn't been overdone, and those are interesting characters, so it could work for that.
But they have to do it in front of a live audience.
Yes. Yeah,
okay. They can't do the canned shit that they did with the '90s show that got canceled.
Yeah, that's why it got canceled.
It was awful. My son and my daughter-in-law, they said it was better as you go through, but I couldn't fucking stand it. Couldn't stand it at all.
I have one more story, and that's it.
Okay, no, that's good. I mean, it's almost 8:00. An hour and a half is perfect.
I have one more story, and this is something that I could ask you the question, because you might have an opinion on this. If Sydney Sweeney told you to wash your balls with Sasquatch soap, would you?
Told me to wash them?
Yeah.
Or she was going to wash them for me.
Either or.
If she's going to wash them for me, yes. I saw her standing there with the thing, right?
Yeah, that's a Canadian company.
Yeah.
When I saw her as a spokesman, I thought, how the fuck did they get her? And then I thought, brilliant, because it's one of those rugged. I've seen their soap for years. I think it's a company out of BC. I may be wrong on that, but I've seen their ad for years. It's an all natural company.
Yeah.
They don't use a lot of chemicals. And I was sitting there saying to myself, that is cool. First of all, she wasn't in the room with them. It was painfully obvious she wasn't in a room with them. But they got Sydney fucking Sweeney to do their commercial. When they landed that gig, when they landed her for that gig, they must have just whacked each other off for 6 hours straight, because they must have been so happy to have that lovely woman as the face of their company. Yeah. So I like it. I thought it was one of the most brilliant marketing ads I've probably seen in the last year.
I saw was a picture. Is there an actual video or something?
When you watch videos on YouTube, they show up.
Okay.
Yeah, so when you watch videos on, at least for me, and it's just brilliant. It's like the guy in the shower and the girl walks in. You're cheating on me with Sydney Sweeney? It's like, no, baby. It's great. It's great. And I mean, it's a great campaign, and I'd be very curious if it's helped their sales. It couldn't have helped. She is the ultimate cool girl. She did that video with the Stones. She was on Utopia. She's got a good movie career. She doesn't give zero fucks about anyone, what anyone says. You know, the thing about sorry about my giant tits, and she's got the Hawk Tui girl where she's licking the cock on her t-shirt. You know, just like, girls don't do that now. And it's so it's original to do that now, because everyone's such a tight ass when it comes to stuff like that. But anyway, it made me want to buy their soap.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
So I just thought it was a picture, but maybe I'll check it in later, because I'm going through stuff on the old YouTube,
YouTuber?
watching a lot of. I watched some stuff on Dust. It could have brought up, but you know, it's hour and a half. That's good. I mean, I still haven't really eaten dinner yet, so we'll leave it at that. Find some stuff.
90 minutes is great.
No, it's trying for a show without Paul. Lazy fuck. Anyways.
Who's Paul?
Oh, yeah. So anyways, folks, that's the show. Thanks for tuning in. No, I'll leave it at that. I got stuff that I want to talk about, but I don't want to bring it out. But it's good. Thanks for tuning. If you're listening to this show and you're also listening to the radio rebroadcast of old radio shows from the 40s and 50s and 60s and stuff, I appreciate it. Pretty soon, again, I've mentioned this before, I'll be doing it a little bit more. I've got tons of stuff to bring out. It's just a matter of getting up and around to it. And so, yeah, thanks, folks. Tune in next time.
Ladies and gentlemen, my mother thanks you, my father thanks you, my sister thanks you, and I thank you.
That's all, folks.
Thank you. Come again.
Why, you little?